Here's something that will blow your mind. Ancient civilizations separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years told the exact same stories. Cultures that never had contact with each other described identical gods, identical creation myths, identical flood legends, identical cosmic battles. This isn't coincidence. This is either proof of a shared human experience, evidence of forgotten global contact, or something even stranger. Today we're exploring cross-cultural myths that predict each other. Stories so similar across unrelated civilizations that they challenge everything we think we know about human history, psychology, and the origins of religion itself. Here's what makes this absolutely fascinating: these aren't vague similarities. These are specific, detailed parallels. The same characters, the same plot points, the same symbolic elements appearing in Greek mythology, Mesopotamian texts, Hindu scriptures, Norse legends, Mesoamerican codices, and indigenous traditions across the world. Cultures that couldn't possibly have known about each other telling the same stories with remarkable precision. The mainstream explanation is Carl Jung's theory of collective unconscious and archetypes. The idea that all humans share psychological patterns that naturally generate similar myths. But that explanation only works for vague patterns. It doesn't explain why the details are so specific, why the timelines match, why the characters have parallel relationships and identical powers. So today we're asking, are these myths describing actual historical events that were witnessed by multiple cultures? Are they evidence of a forgotten global civilization? Are they describing cosmic truths that transcend individual cultures? Or is there something else going on that we haven't figured out yet? Let's start with the most obvious example, the Great Flood. Almost every ancient culture on Earth has a flood myth. And they're not just vague stories about rain. They describe catastrophic global floods that wiped out humanity, with only a few survivors who rebuilt civilization. In the Bible, it's Noah and the Arkansas God sends a flood to destroy humanity because of its wickedness. Noah builds an ark, saves his family and pairs of animals, the flood lasts 40 days and nights, and Noah releases a dove to find land. In Mesopotamian mythology, it's the Epic of Gilgamesh. The gods decide to destroy humanity with a flood. Utnapishtim is warned by the god Enki, builds a massive boat, saves his family and animals, the flood lasts 6 days and 7 nights, and he releases a dove, then a swallow, then a raven to find land. Wait. That's almost identical to the Noah story. Same plot, same characters, same animals being sent out to find land. The Epic of Gilgamesh was written around 2100 BC, centuries before the biblical flood narrative was written down. So either the biblical authors borrowed from Mesopotamian mythology, or both cultures were describing the same actual event. But it doesn't stop there. Hindu mythology describes Manu, the first man, being warned by the god Vishnu in the form of a fish about an impending flood. Manu builds a boat, survives the flood, and repopulates the earth. Greek mythology describes Deucalion, warned by his father Prometheus about a flood Zeus is sending to destroy humanity. Deucalion builds an ark, survives with his wife, and they repopulate the earth by throwing stones that become people. Chinese mythology describes Gunyu taming the great flood that threatened to destroy civilization. Aztec mythology describes the fourth sun being destroyed by a great flood. Native American traditions across multiple tribes describe great floods that destroyed previous worlds. Indigenous Australian Aboriginal traditions describe massive floods that reshaped the land. Pacific Islander traditions describe floods that submerged entire islands. African traditions describe floods that forced migrations. This is global. Every continent, every major culture, describing the same catastrophic flood. And here's what makes it even more interesting: geological evidence suggests there actually was a massive global sea level rise at the end of the last ice age. Around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, glaciers melted, sea levels rose dramatically, and coastal civilizations would have been completely submerged. So the flood myths might not be myths at all. They might be cultural memories of actual catastrophic flooding that destroyed advanced civilizations living on coastlines that are now underwater. And different cultures preserved the memory in their own mythological frameworks. Now let's talk about the creation of humanity. Cultures across the world describe humans being created by gods from clay or earth. In the Bible, God creates Adam from the dust of the ground and breathes life into him. In Greek mythology, Prometheus molds humans from clay and Athena breathes life into them. In Egyptian mythology, the god Khnum shapes humans on a potter's wheel from clay. In Chinese mythology, the goddess Nuwa creates humans from yellow earth. In Mesopotamian mythology, the goddess Aruru creates Enkidu from clay. This is the same story. Gods shaping humans from earth or clay. Why would completely unrelated cultures come up with this identical origin story? Is it because humans recognize that our bodies return to earth when we die? Is it symbolic of humans being earthly, material beings? Or is it describing something that actually happened, advanced beings genetically engineering humans from the elements of earth? Then there's the forbidden fruit or forbidden knowledge motif. The Bible describes Adam and Eve eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, gaining awareness but being punished by God. Greek mythology describes Prometheus stealing fire from the gods and giving it to humans, enlightening them but being punished eternally. Hindu mythology describes the Asuras teaching humans forbidden knowledge, leading to divine punishment. Mesopotamian mythology describes Enki teaching humanity knowledge against the will of other gods. Same pattern. Humans gaining knowledge or awareness through divine intervention, but being punished for it. Knowledge is forbidden, enlightenment is dangerous, and those who give it to humans are punished by higher authorities. Why is this theme universal? Is it describing a real event where humans gained sudden knowledge or technology? Is it warning against curiosity and disobedience? Or is it revealing something about the nature of consciousness itself? Now let's look at the dying and resurrecting God motif. This appears across dozens of cultures. A divine figure dies, often violently or sacrificially, spends time in the underworld or realm of the dead, and then resurrects, bringing renewal or salvation. In Christianity, Jesus is crucified, spends 3 days in death, and resurrects, offering salvation to humanity. In Egyptian mythology, Osiris is killed and dismembered by Set, descends to the underworld, and is resurrected by Isis, becoming the god of the afterlife. In Greek mythology, Dionysus is torn apart as a child, descends to the underworld multiple times, and is repeatedly reborn. In Mesopotamian mythology, Tammuz dies and descends to the underworld, and his resurrection brings the return of spring. In Norse mythology, Baldur is killed by Loki, descends to hell, and is prophesied to return after Ragnarok to rule a new world. In Hindu mythology, Krishna is killed and returns in different avatars. In Aztec mythology, Quetzalcoatl dies and is reborn. This dying and resurrecting God appears everywhere. Why? Jung would say it's an archetype representing death and rebirth, the cycle of seasons, the psychological journey of transformation. But that doesn't explain why the details are so similar. Why 3 days frequently? Why violent death? Why resurrection bringing salvation or renewal? Some scholars suggest these myths describe astronomical cycles, the sun dying at winter solstice and being reborn at spring equinox. But that still doesn't explain the specific narrative details that repeat across cultures. Then there's the world tree or cosmic axis motif. Cultures describe a massive tree connecting heaven, earth, and the underworld. In Norse mythology, it's Yggdrasil, the world tree, with roots in the underworld, trunk on earth, and branches in heaven. In Hindu mythology, it's the Ashvattha tree, the cosmic tree connecting realms. In Mesoamerican mythology, it's the Ceiba tree, the sacred tree connecting worlds. In Siberian shamanic traditions, the world tree allows shamans to travel between realms. In Chinese mythology, the peach tree of immortality grows in the heavens. In Christian symbolism, the tree of life appears in Eden and again in Revelation. In Mesopotamian mythology, sacred trees connect heaven and earth. Same concept. A central axis, usually a tree, connecting multiple levels of reality. Why is this image universal? Is it symbolic of consciousness connecting earthly and spiritual realms? Is it describing something real that ancient peoples witnessed, perhaps a metaphor for something they couldn't fully explain? Now let's talk about the serpent or dragon as chaos or wisdom figure. In almost every mythology, serpents represent either primordial chaos, divine wisdom, or both simultaneously. In the Bible, the serpent tempts Eve with knowledge. In Greek mythology, Python is the primordial serpent guarding Delphi. In Norse mythology, Jormungandr is the world serpent encircling the earth, representing chaos. In Hindu mythology, the Naga serpents are divine beings associated with water, fertility, and wisdom. In Mesopotamian mythology, Tiamat is the primordial chaos serpent. In Chinese mythology, dragons are wise celestial beings. In Mesoamerican mythology, Quetzalcoatl is the feathered serpent god of wisdom and creation. Serpents everywhere. Representing chaos, wisdom, transformation, danger, enlightenment. Why? Some scholars say it's because snakes shed their skin, symbolizing rebirth. Others say it's because snakes are dangerous and unpredictable. But that doesn't explain why serpents are specifically associated with primordial chaos, forbidden knowledge, and divine wisdom across unrelated cultures. Could ancient peoples have witnessed something serpentine or dragon-like that they encoded into mythology? Could it be symbolic of something cosmic or evolutionary? Or is there a deeper pattern at work? Then there's the virgin birth or miraculous conception motif. Cultures describe divine figures being born from virgins or through miraculous means. In Christianity, Jesus is born to the Virgin Mary, conceived by the Holy Spirit. In Greek mythology, Perseus is born to Danae, who is impregnated by Zeus in the form of golden rain. Hercules is born to Alcmene, impregnated by Zeus. In Hindu mythology, Krishna is born to Devaki through divine intervention. In Egyptian mythology, Horus is conceived by Isis after Osiris's death through magical means. In Aztec mythology, Huitzilopochtli is born to Coatlicue from a ball of feathers. In Chinese mythology, Laozi is born from a virgin mother who carried him for 80 years. Why is virgin or miraculous birth so common? Is it elevating divine figures above normal humans? Is it describing genetic manipulation or artificial insemination that ancient peoples interpreted as divine? Is it purely symbolic of purity and divine origin? Now let's look at the underworld journey motif. Heroes descend to the underworld, face trials, and return transformed. In Greek mythology, Orpheus descends to retrieve Eurydice. Hercules descends to capture Cerberus. Odysseus visits the underworld to consult the dead. In Mesopotamian mythology, Inanna descends to the underworld, dies, and is resurrected. In Egyptian mythology, Ra travels through the underworld every night. In Hindu mythology, Savitri descends to the underworld to retrieve her husband's soul. In Mayan mythology, the hero twins descend to Xibalba to defeat the Lords of Death. Same story. descending to the realm of the dead, facing trials, and returning. Is this symbolic of psychological transformation? Is it describing shamanic journeys? Or is it preserving memories of actual experiences with altered states of consciousness? Then there's the cosmic battle between order and chaos. Almost every mythology describes a war between divine forces of order and primordial forces of chaos. In Mesopotamian mythology, Marduk battles Tiamat, the chaos dragon, and creates the world from her body. In Greek mythology, Zeus and the Olympians battle the Titans and establish cosmic order. In Hindu mythology, the Devas battle the Asuras in ongoing cosmic conflict. In Norse mythology, the Aesir battle the giants, culminating in Ragnarok. In Egyptian mythology, Ra battles Apophis, the serpent of chaos, every night. In Zoroastrian mythology, Ahura Mazda battles Engra Mainyu in eternal conflict between good and evil. Why is this cosmic war universal? Is it reflecting human psychology, the internal battle between order and chaos? Is it describing actual conflicts between different groups of divine or advanced beings? Is it astronomical, describing celestial events interpreted as battles? Now here's where it gets really interesting, the ages of the world or cyclical destruction motif. Multiple cultures describe the world going through cycles of creation and destruction. In Hindu mythology, the world goes through 4 yugas, ages that decline in virtue and end in destruction before renewal. In Greek mythology, there are 5 ages: golden, silver, bronze, heroic, and iron. Each age declines until the gods destroy humanity and start over. In Aztec mythology, there are 5 suns, 5 previous worlds destroyed by jaguars, wind, fire, and flood, with the current world destined for destruction by earthquakes. In Norse mythology, the current world ends at Ragnarok, and a new world emerges. In Zoroastrian mythology, history progresses through ages until the final battle and renewal. In Buddhist and Jain cosmology, the universe goes through infinite cycles of creation and destruction. Why do cultures describe cyclical time and catastrophic resets? Is it reflecting agricultural cycles and seasons? Is it describing actual catastrophic events that destroyed previous civilizations? Is it revealing something about the nature of cosmic time itself? And then there's the trickster god motif. Almost every culture has a trickster figure, a god or spirit that defies authority, breaks rules, causes chaos, but also brings knowledge or transformation. In Greek mythology, it's Hermes or Prometheus. In Norse mythology, it's Loki. In African mythology, it's Anansi the spider. In Native American traditions, it's Coyote or Raven. In Polynesian mythology, it's Maui. In Hindu mythology, aspects of Krishna act as trickster. In Mesopotamian mythology, Enki has trickster qualities. In Japanese mythology, it's Susanoo. Same archetype. The divine figure who challenges authority, breaks cosmic laws, and teaches humanity forbidden knowledge. Why is the trickster universal? Jung said it represents the shadow self, the chaotic element necessary for transformation. But again, that doesn't explain the specific similarities in how tricksters behave and what they teach. Now let's talk about the divine council or assembly of gods. Cultures describe gods meeting in councils to make decisions about humanity and the cosmos. In the Bible, God is described in Psalm 82 as standing in the divine assembly, judging among the gods. In Greek mythology, the gods meet on Mount Olympus to debate and decide fates. In Mesopotamian mythology, the Anunnaki hold councils to determine human destiny. In Hindu mythology, the Devas meet to discuss cosmic matters. In Norse mythology, the gods gather in Valhalla to counsel. In Egyptian mythology, the Ennead of gods governs cosmic order. Why do cultures describe divine bureaucracy? Is it reflecting human political structures projected onto the divine? Or is it describing actual hierarchies of beings that ancient peoples witnessed or interacted with? Then there's the motif of humans being created as servants or workers for the gods. Mesopotamian texts explicitly state that humans were created to do the work the gods were tired of doing. Greek mythology describes humans being created to serve and worship the gods. Hindu texts describe similar purposes. Why would ancient cultures describe themselves as servants created for divine convenience? Is it justifying human labor and social hierarchy? Or is it preserving a memory of genetic engineering or civilization building by advanced beings? And finally, there's the return of the king or golden age motif. Cultures describe a past golden age when gods walked among humans, when life was perfect, and a prophecy that this age will return. In Christianity, it's the return of Christ and the establishment of God's kingdom. In Hindu mythology, it's the return of the avatar Kalki to end the Kali Yuga. In Aztec mythology, it's the return of Quetzalcoatl. In Arthurian legend, it's the return of King Arthur. Why is this hope for a returning divine figure universal? Is it psychological comfort? Is it preserving memory of actual beings who promised to return? Is it describing cosmic cycles? So here's what we know: ancient cultures separated by impossible distances told the same stories with remarkable precision. They described the same gods, the same catastrophes, the same cosmic structures, the same patterns of creation and destruction. The mainstream explanation, collective unconscious and archetypes, doesn't fully account for the specificity of these parallels. So what are the alternatives? First possibility: there was a forgotten global civilization. An advanced culture that existed before recorded history, spread across the world, and was destroyed by catastrophe. The myths are cultural memories of this civilization preserved by survivors who scattered and founded new cultures. Second possibility: ancient cultures had far more contact than we think. There was global trade, travel, and exchange of ideas in prehistoric times, and myths spread through cultural diffusion. Third possibility: the myths are describing actual cosmic events or beings. Advanced entities, extraterrestrial or interdimensional, contacted multiple cultures and were remembered in mythological form. Fourth possibility: human consciousness naturally generates these patterns. Not just vague archetypes, but specific narratives emerge from the structure of the human mind when contemplating existence, death, creation, and divinity. Or fifth possibility: it's a combination of all of these. Some myths reflect actual events, some reflect cultural exchange, some reflect psychological patterns, and some reflect cosmic truths that transcend individual cultures. What's undeniable is this: the cross-cultural parallels are too specific, too detailed, and too universal to dismiss. They're telling us something profound about human history, consciousness, or the nature of reality itself. And the more we discover about ancient civilizations, the more mysterious these parallels become. What do you think? Are these myths describing actual historical events? Are they evidence of a forgotten global civilization? Are they revealing cosmic truths that transcend culture? Let me know in the comments what explanation makes the most sense to you. And if you want to keep exploring the mysteries of ancient civilizations and forgotten knowledge, subscribe to Forbidden Knowledge. Tomorrow we're diving into hero archetypes across cultures, how every culture describes the same heroic journey. This is going to be absolutely fascinating. Thanks for watching.